very good evening to all of you and welcome to the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi, getting you the day's top stories, from Parliament uproar over a documentary to rising hopes of a cut in your EMIs. Let's get you all that, but before that, the headlines. Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan removed from the Aam Aadmi Party's top decision-making panel PAC, decision taken in a marathon meeting of its national executive. Government keeps option of joint session open after facing opposition on insurance bill in the Lok Sabha. Numbers help it in getting the bill passed in the lower house. Uproar in both houses of parliament on interview of Delhi gang rape convict in Tihar jail in Delhi for a documentary. Home Minister assures ban on the film's telecast. And RBI cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 7.5%, keeps CRR unchanged. Clamour grows for the cut in bank interest rates on loans and lower EMIs. Top story: less than a month after coming to power in Delhi, the Aam Aadmi Party is dealing with its biggest internal crisis. Leaders Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan were removed from the party's top decision-making panel today after a marathon meeting. Meanwhile, party chief Arvind Kejriwal, who stayed away from that meeting, will remain convener despite offering a resignation earlier today.
Just a month after the resounding victory in Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party is at crossroads again. The national executive meeting in Delhi turned into a firefight to douse the infights raging over its chief Arvind Kejriwal's functioning. War of words and letters in the last few days exposed the ugly spat within the party over the leadership issue, but the executive committee finally cracked the whip on Wednesday. It removed two key dissidents, Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan, from party's political affairs committee.
राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने बस ये तय किया है कि मैं और योगेंद्र यादव अभी पीएससी के मेंबर नहीं रहेंगे।
कोई जिम्मेदारी और दी गई है, अल्टरनेटिव जिम्मेदारी?
वो सब बाद में तय होगा। ये तो मेजॉरिटी डिसीजन है, जो भी मेजॉरिटी डिसीजन होता है राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी का, वो मान्य होता है।
पार्टी के एक अनुशासित कार्यकर्ता की तरह पार्टी मुझे जो आदेश देगी, मुझे जो भूमिका देगी, वो मैं पूरी तरह से निभाने की कोशिश करूंगा।
पार्टी के एनी ने ये प्रस्ताव भी पास किया कि पार्टी के दो वरिष्ठ साथी श्री योगेंद्र यादव जी और श्री प्रशांत भूषण जी, उन्हें पीएससी की जिम्मेदारियों से मुक्त करके नई जिम्मेदारियां दी जाएं जो तय की जाएंगी।
Both leaders have been openly critical of Kejriwal and the party in recent times. AAP has accused them of conspiring to unseat Kejriwal and working against the party's interests. Hours before the meet began, Kejriwal decided to step down from the post of the party convener. A dejected Kejriwal skipped the meeting a day after he expressed his disappointment over the voices of dissent. However, his resignation was not accepted by the party leaders.
अरविंद जी का इस्तीफा जो है वो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने तब भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया था, और जो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी का फैसला था उस पर अरविंद जी की राय स्पष्ट नहीं थी कि वो राष्ट्रीय कार्यकारिणी ने जो फैसला किया है उसको वो स्वीकार कर रहे हैं या स्वीकार नहीं कर रहे।
This isn't the first time that the party is facing such a crisis. Before the Delhi Assembly polls, there were voices of dissidence over Kejriwal's leadership style. Leaders like Shazia Ilmi quit the party, citing lack of democracy within the party as the reason. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
On to Parliament news, and the Insurance Laws Amendment Bill has been passed in Lok Sabha. The government has said that the bill keeps in mind the needs of the insured, though the opposition kept up its tirade against the bill.
The bill to increase FDI in the insurance sector from 26% to 49% was passed in Lok Sabha today. The government claimed that this would help the sector overcome capital crunch and would also take care of the interests of the consumers. The government has also said that if the bill gets defeated in Rajya Sabha, the option of a joint session is open.
Our hope would be that the Congress would support it, though after the debate in the Lok Sabha today, there is a real question mark there. We'll have to see how all of that unfolds. But of course, you know, if the bill is defeated in the Rajya Sabha, having been passed in the Lok Sabha, that does open an opportunity for a joint session.
Earlier in the day, Congress, TMC and left parties led other opposition parties in opposing the bill in Lok Sabha.
That if there is any failure to do so, immediately their registration certificate will be cancelled. But then what happens to the people who are insured by these companies?
Sir, you can never depend on foreign companies to really help out in health insurance sector. Mostly
The insurance companies are cheating people. In the health sector, they say, we will give you cashless treatment. But later they say that your claim is not tenable.
Please conclude now.
How many people? Government is evading the powers, the legislative powers of the parliament against all parliamentary traditions, customs and conventions of this house. For what purpose? Just to satisfy the interest of the multinational corporate insurance companies.
The government had brought in an ordinance to raise the FDI cap in insurance sector, a move that was strongly criticized by the opposition. With the numbers on its side, it was a smooth sailing for the government in the Lok Sabha, but the going may not be that easy in Rajya Sabha. With inputs from Pranav Goswami and Shyam Sundar, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Also, the Coal Mines Special Provisions Bill 2015 was today passed in Lok Sabha. The government claims that the bill will ensure transparency in the allocation of coal mines. It had brought in an ordinance for the auction of coal blocks, which will now be replaced by the bill. And during the debate, the opposition criticized the government for using the ordinance route.
Coal Minister Piyush Goyal has said that coal-producing states will benefit from the bill passed in the lower house on Wednesday. He also claimed that the Narendra Modi-led government had brought in more transparency to the entire sector.
हमने मात्र 9 दिन में 14 से शुरू करके 22 तारीख तक 19 महीने 18 बिड द्वारा ऑक्शन की और मुझे खुशी है कि आज से नया दौर ऑक्शन का शुरू होने जा रहा है.
In his reply, the minister also touched upon several queries raised by opposition members. In particular, he clarified opposition apprehensions about reverse bidding and end users.
मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि एक-एक ब्लॉक टेक्निकल कमेटी जिसमें हर एक डिपार्टमेंट के लोग मेंबर्स हैं, उस टेक्निकल कमेटी द्वारा डिसाइड किया गया कैसे इसको किस पर्पस के लिए किया जाए. कोई भी ब्लॉक स्टील से पावर में नहीं ट्रांसफर किया.
During the debate on the bill, the opposition raised several questions regarding it. The Congress, TMC, CPIM and BJD raised the issues of time frame for disbursement of royalty, reverse bidding, end users and the duration of leases.
Consult with the concerned coal-bearing state when you are determining what will be in a regulated sector, what will be in a non-regulated sector. Personally, you may be interacting with the government, but this should be in the law because in future, it is not that you will be continuing in this ministry, somebody else will come.
1993 onwards, there is a dilution. Now these national resources are being diverted towards the state. I have no problem in the states because there are 5 states which have 90%, 99% of the coal reserves. What about the rest of the 25 states, sir? Our union is bound together by a very delicate promise that each state has made to each other. That's why the constitution makers did not provide national resources in the state list, sir.
The opposition moved several amendments to the bill, all of which were defeated. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, a foreign documentary interviewing one of the convicts in the 2012 Delhi gang rape case sparked outrage in the Rajya Sabha today. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said the government will not allow airing the documentary on Indian TV channels and assured a thorough probe to find out who allowed the shooting of the film inside Delhi's Tihar jail.
The foreign documentary on the Delhi gang rape case triggered uproar in the upper house on Wednesday. Members raised objections during a reference to International Women's Day, slamming the outlandish remarks by one of the convicts, Mukesh.
जो टीवी चैनल हैं उन पर ये फिल्म नहीं दिखाई जानी चाहिए, नंबर 1. नंबर जो डीजी जेल है उस समय के और जो अधिकारी हैं उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई हो, इसका आश्वासन दिया जाना चाहिए.
आपको तुरंत कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए थी. 2 दिन से ये बात चर्चे में आ रही है. आप लोग विचार करेंगे, उसके बाद करेंगे. ये crocodile tears नहीं चाहिए औरतों को.
The chair also took strong exception to the interview and demanded government's explanation.
After committing a horrendous, heinous crime, he is justifying it. It is unbelievable. So I want the government to take action. How the interview came, take action and report to this house. And you are doing this.
All women members from opposition benches trooped into the well for allowing the convict to give an interview. They were joined by their male colleagues from the opposition parties, forcing the chair to adjourn the house for 15 minutes.
House is adjourned for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
When the House reassembled, Home Minister Rajnath Singh sought to mollify the agitated members. He said the terms and conditions were violated by the documentary maker. The Home Minister said that a restraining order had been obtained against the telecast of the documentary on International Women's Day on Sunday, and a report has been sought from Tihar jail where the convict was interviewed.
The government has taken necessary legal action and obtained a restraining order from the court disseminating the contents of the film. Our government condemns the incident of 16 December 2012 in the strongest possible terms and will not allow any attempt by any individual, group or organization to leverage such unfortunate incidents for commercial benefits.
Some women MPs also staged a walkout as a mark of protest and urged the government to ensure speedy justice for the victim. However, there were voices in support to telecast the documentary.
But the reality is what the man spoke reflects the views of many men in India. And why are we shying away from that? In everything glorifying India and we are perfect, we are not confronting the issues which need to be really confronted.
We were very surprised in the last 2 days when this topic was the burning topic of the day as to how those people got permission. I am told that the permission was given as a study case, not to be used outside at all, not to get into the public arena, and to be used as an input for how to deal with such criminals. Be it as it may, that may have been the case. Then today the inquiry has to be made how it all got into the public arena.
जिन जेल के अधिकारियों ने उनको ये परमिशन दी, तो जो भी इसमें अधिकारी लोग हैं, तो माननीय गृह मंत्री जी से मेरा ये कहना है कि आपको इसकी एक जांच बैठानी चाहिए.
The Home Minister also said that he has spoken to Information and Broadcasting Ministry and told them to explore ways to ensure that the documentary was not broadcast even abroad. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
In fact, the debate over telecast of that BBC documentary also rocked Lok Sabha today. Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that he was also stunned as to how permission was granted for the convict's interview to take place inside the jail.
अध्यक्ष महोदया, जिस डॉक्यूमेंट्री को लेकर केवल यह सदन ही नहीं बल्कि सारा देश इस समय सचमुच अपने को शर्मिंदगी महसूस कर रहा है, उसके संबंध में इस सदन के भी सम्मानित सदस्यों ने भी अपनी चिंता व्यक्त की है और अपनी नाराजगी व्यक्त की है. मैं यह सदन को अवगत कराना चाहता हूं कि इस घटना के संबंध में ज्यों ही मुझे जानकारी मिली, इसी प्रकार की नाराजगी मेरे अंदर भी पैदा हुई थी और तुरंत संबंधित अधिकारियों को टेलीफोन मिलाकर मैंने इस संबंध में जानकारी हासिल की.
The Home Minister looking to calm strong opposition protests as members demanded action over the December 16, 2012 gang rape convict being allowed to give an interview from inside the high-security Tihar jail. Singh informed the House that the NOC to shoot the film was given by the Home Ministry in 2013 under the UPA government. However, restrictions laid down were flouted.
24 जुलाई 2013 को यह डॉक्यूमेंट्री इस डॉक्यूमेंट्री के लिए उस कन्विक्टेड जो इनमेट था, जो कन्विक्टेड जो अपराधी था, उसका इंटरव्यू लेने के लिए इजाजत दी गई. एक रेपिस्ट का इंटरव्यू लेने की इजाजत ये कैसे दी गई, किन परिस्थितियों में दी गई, ये सचमुच ये बहुत ही चौंकाने वाली घटना है.
Earlier during the 0 hour, several women members demanded a detailed inquiry and strong action against those responsible for lapses in adherence to norms.
Shame that statement made in the documentary you see in the newspaper. Madam, it is very shocking. It is very shameful for the whole Indian community. Very shameful. We should protest strongly. The whole House should protest against this. We have to tackle this problem right from the grassroots, from where the mindset becomes such that you insult women, you do not understand that they give consent. The right to their bodies to give consent is theirs. It cannot be abrogated to somebody else. They need to be able to feel safe at all times.
Delhi Police has obtained a restraining order from the Delhi High Court prohibiting transmission of the interview till further orders. The Home Minister met the Delhi Police Commissioner on Wednesday evening. A probe is being carried out into restrictions not being followed.
Today we obtained the
we moved the the competent court, and the court has given regularized the order of the duty magistrate, and a copy of the order has been served on BBC also by our officers, and we have also circulated it among various media agencies as well as electronic media, so that there is no transgression of law by any print or electronic media organization.
The hour-long documentary film is based on extensive interviews of the victims' parents, the convicts and their families. One of the jailed convicts blames the victim for the gang rape. The filmmakers plan to challenge the ban in court. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
Time for a quick break here. Up next, we're getting international news. At least 30 people were killed in a mine blast in the volatile eastern Ukraine region.
जुल्म सितम की दास्तान, आजादी के दीवानों की पहचान, स्वाधीनता के लिए जिन्होंने दी जान की कुर्बानी। देखिए काला पानी नई कहानी, सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Welcome back to the news tonight. Now, in a surprise move, the Reserve Bank of India today slashed repo rate by 25 basis points. The move has cheered markets in India Inc. Softening inflation and the fiscal consolidation route carved out in the Union budget is believed to have prompted the RBI governor to slash the rates. This is the second out-of-turn 25 basis point cut after an earlier one in January that we saw. However, this is the first time that the Reserve Bank of India announced a monetary policy action ahead of markets opening.
A holy gift from the RBI governor. EMIs may come down soon as the Reserve Bank of India announced a cut in repo rate by 25 basis points, bringing it down to 7.5% from 7.75%. The rate cut sets the tone for a reduction in lending rates by banks, prodding them to drop interest rates on home and car loans.
So when you assess the public finances, you have to look at it from the point of view of the government as a whole. And there, given that states have been, and this is something that the RBI mentions, that the states have been prudent in managing their finances, what the transfer implies also is that all the fiscal deficit, revenue deficit numbers will actually look better than just by looking at the central government finances alone.
The government has welcomed the RBI's move, calling it a booster shot for the economy. The move is expected to augur well for the industry and home loan borrowers. The government also assuaged apprehensions that the cut would pose inflationary risks.
Everybody is looking for a near-term boost to the economy, and I think with the rate cut coming as it does right now, does provide that near-term boost to the economy as well.
We have now, in fact, codified our shared concern about inflation, our shared assessment in this monetary policy framework agreement that the government and the RBI have signed. It's merely, continuing what has been the practice in the last few months and very much consistent with the Urjit Patel Committee report.
The central bank's move also cheered the markets significantly. The Sensex rallied by 434 points to reach the 30,000 mark intraday before slipping into the red.
Our economy is going to grow, and the GDP growth target which was set in the economic survey and the budget looks to me like achievable.
The RBI had first lowered interest rates this year on January 15th in a similar unexpected move. Both rate cuts took place outside of the central bank's scheduled policy review meetings. The next bi-monthly policy statement will be issued on 7th April 2015. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, India Inc. definitely happy. Well, what does it mean for you and me? We've got Shishir Sinha, who's the senior assistant editor with the Hindu Business Line, joining us in studio. Good evening, Shishir. Give us the good news, if there is any. Do we expect a cut in EMIs?
Definitely, because when the rate was cut in January, most of the banks cut their base rate, barring, just 25 basis point, and they cut the deposit rate, not the lending rate. This time, most of the banks, including the big banks like State Bank of India and ICICI Bank, they are expected to cut the rate and the EMI will come down. So this time, do expect some good news, some very good news for you, especially if you have taken home loan or car loan.
All right, that's good to know. But then also getting into really the numbers today, the benchmark indices actually scaling new highs. This, if you actually look at it, it's a 25 basis point. It's not that big of a change really in that repo rate. But then, looking at the way the markets move today, is that something, does that signify something big?
Yes, certainly. Because don't say just 25 basis point. Within last 60 days, we have 50 basis point cut. And we haven't seen rate cut for almost a year or so. So this is a big move. And when the Sensex is moving towards 30,000, Nifty is moving towards 9,000, industry is really expecting that the cost of capital will come down. And if you can remember, during the Make in India conference, the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that one of the most significant reason for lower growth of manufacturing is the cost of capital. And if the cost of capital is coming down, most of the industry will come, they will announce new projects, whether it is the greenfield or the brownfield, and that will boost the entire industry, and that will also boost the stock market.
All right. So very quickly before we let you go, any indication of, by when will banks perhaps cut those EMI or cut those rates, in fact, lending rates?
By April 15, you will have most of the bank, all the bigger banks, be it SBI, be it ICICI Bank, be it Bank of Baroda or Punjab National Bank, they will cut their base rate, and that will translate into cutting down the lending rate also.
All right, Shishir Sinha, thanks so much for joining us this evening, giving us some good news there. Thank you again. All right, that's something that we'll be looking out for. Home, auto and corporate loans perhaps getting cheaper by April is what our guest's saying here. But then heading on to more news, in fact, international, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the United States against accepting a nuclear deal with Iran. In a much anticipated speech to the US Congress, Netanyahu likened Tehran to the Islamic State. He claimed that the ongoing talks about Iran's nuclear program will only guarantee that Tehran gets lots of nuclear weapons.
A day after US President Barack Obama expressed his differences over Israel's stand on the Iran nuclear deal, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu threw a direct challenge to the White House. Standing before the US Congress on Tuesday, Netanyahu bluntly warned the US against an emerging nuclear agreement with Iran.
This deal has two major concessions. One, leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program, and two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. That's why this deal is so bad. It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb, it paves Iran's path to the bomb.
In his dramatic address, mostly punctuated by standing ovations, Netanyahu even likened Iran to the Islamic State terror group.
The battle between Iran and ISIS doesn't turn Iran into a friend of America. Iran and ISIS are competing for the crown of militant Islam. One calls itself the Islamic Republic, the other calls itself the Islamic State. Both want to impose a militant Islamic empire, first on the region and then on the entire world.
Netanyahu's speech drew a rebuke from President Barack Obama, who pushed back sternly, saying the Israeli Prime Minister was offering no useful alternative.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has not offered any kind of viable alternative that would achieve the same verifiable mechanism to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
House Democrats also dismissed Netanyahu's speech as political theatre.
First, I'd like to congratulate Speaker Boehner and Prime Minister Netanyahu on a very impressive bit of political theater.
Meanwhile, negotiations between world powers on Iran's nuclear program are underway in Switzerland. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif and US Secretary of State John Kerry sat down for a second day of meetings on Tuesday, seeking to reach an agreement that curtails Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. A blast at a coal mine in Ukraine has killed at least 30 people. 40 more are still missing after the incident. Emergency services have been rushed to the area. Ukraine's officials are yet to ascertain the cause for the coal mine blast, but incidentally the blast took place in the sensitive border area in the east of the country. Former National Security Advisor contractor Edward Snowden's lawyer has said that he is ready to return back to the United States if he gets a fair trial. Snowden's lawyer said that they are doing everything possible to make it happen. Snowden has taken asylum in Russia since he leaked thousands of classified documents to media over unethical snooping by the NSA. A Turkish Airlines plane crashed today in Nepal's Kathmandu after overshooting the runway. The plane crashed as it tried to land in dense fog. Flight officials said that the runway was slippery after 2 days of incessant rains. All 240 people on board escaped unhurt. They were safely evacuated through the emergency door. The Australian High Court has ruled against a prank call made by a radio station which turned fatal. The court overturned an earlier judgment saying the radio station broke the law by making the call, which resulted in a nurse committing suicide. The call was made to a UK hospital treating the Duchess of Cambridge at the time. The radio station could now be fined or see its license suspended or revoked. Right now, some cricket action, and at the ICC World Cup, Pakistan kept up its push for a place in the quarterfinals of the World Cup with a 129-run victory over the United Arab Emirates in Napier, while Australia beat Afghanistan by 275 runs, the biggest winning margin in the tournament's history. Ahmed Shahzad hit 93 and both Haris Sohail and captain Misbah-ul-Haq weighed in with half-centuries as Pakistan ran up 339 for 6 wickets in 50 overs. UAE were reduced to 25 for 3 early in their reply, and the in-form Sherman Anwar made 62, but they eventually fell short on 210 for 8. This was the second win for Pakistan, and now they join Ireland and West Indies on 4 points. In the second match of the day, David Warner hit 178 off 133 balls. Steve Smith scored 95, while Glenn Maxwell struck 88 in 39 deliveries in the Pool A encounter in Perth. Afghanistan was then dismissed for 142, with Mitchell Johnson and Mitchell Starc taking 6 wickets between them. Australia's score surpassed the 413 that India had made against Bermuda in 2007.
Big hit. That'll go for 6. Another indication of the power and the strength.
That's all from me today. Good night.